So there have been some scientific discoveries. So what do these scientific discoveries say to us? In a profound article written by Peter May titled, Fine-Tuning the Multiverse, let's see what's going on. He quotes atheist Richard Dawkins, who cited a major problem. Richard Dawkins visited our museum, by the way, that arose out of the secular study of universal physics. They found that physicists have calculated that if laws and constants of physics had been even slightly different, the universe would have developed in such a way that life would not have been possible. Wow! Something's going on. This mystery has become known as the Goldilocks Enigma, because the universe appears to be just right for us in the same way as the little bear's porridge, just right. Well, do you know what? The entire universe is like that in certain dimensions that they found. It's called the Goldilocks Enigma. Just right. So let's see what they're talking about. Physicist Paul Davies estimated that let's examine physics of the universe for a moment. For electromagnetism, a change in 1 part in 10 to the power of 40, with mathematician David Bassett back there, that's a pretty long number, right, David? Sure is. Not as long as the other number that Mike had to work with, but pretty long. 1 part in that, it would spell disaster for stars like our sun, thereby precluding the existence of planets. The stars couldn't form if electromagnetism were off at all. The gravitational force must be what it is for planets to have stable orbits around the sun. Otherwise, if they had a greater force, they would fall into the sun and burn up, or if it were weaker, they would escape out from the orbit into a very cold outer darkness. It's estimated that a change in gravity by 1 part in 10 to the power of 100 would have prevented life in the universe. Wow! If the electric charge of an electron were only slightly different, stars would be enabled to burn hydrogen and helium and to produce the chemical elements such as carbon and oxygen that make up our bodies. And we didn't come from the stars, by the way, but we're telling their story, and they've got a good point right now. Similarly, the orbit of electrons in atoms would not be stable. If the charge were a little more, it would sink to the proton-neutron nucleus. If it were a little less, it would skip off. No matter, we wouldn't exist if it were not just right. Stephen Hawking wrote, if the rate of expansion 1 second after the Big Bang didn't happen, but God, with a big word, did, and God did stretch out the universe. So let's let him have his story. Stephen Hawking, brilliant mind, bad body, brilliant mind. If it had been smaller by even 1 part in 100,000 million. Now, is that a big number? It's a very, very, very big number. So the chance is very, very, very small. The universe would recollapse before it ever reached its present size. So it's got to be like the porridge, just right. Not only must each of these qualities be exquisitely fine-tuned, but their ratios to each other must be fine-tuned. As William Craig writes, improbability is added to improbability until our minds are reeling in incomprehensible numbers. Had to be just right. So how are these ordinary numbers to be explained? Well, the most popular explanation, and the one that appeals to Dawkins, the world's leading atheistic evolutionary expert, is the multiverse. That's the idea that, unbeknown to us, since ours is just right, there must be a lot more universes out there that arrived by evolution where things are not just right in them, but we're here. The multiverse. Any evidence for that? No. Is there a slight hint at that? Absolutely not. Well, let's see what their story continues to tell. The idea here is that unbeknownst to us, there are other universes, all slightly different, so that it becomes more likely that in that number, a universe like ours might exist. Davies wrote, the multiverse theory seeks to replace the appearance of design by the hand of chance. So it's just chance, so you don't need God. Hang with me. The last half is better. But we have to wade through this to appreciate the last half. Now, it must be understood that there's no hard evidence at all for the existence of any other universe, and If they exist, we'd never be able to see them or have any contact with them. Can this then be considered a scientific idea if it cannot be tested by experiment or observation? Davis states, it can be validly objected that a theory which rests on entities that are in principle unobservable cannot be described as scientific. So no matter how much they hold to it, and that's the current rage in the atheistic community, it is not scientific. But a multiverse cosmological bombshell was reported in New Science dated 28 October 2009. An article entitled Multiplying Universes, How Many is a Multiverse? Put forward the latest thinking from cosmologist Vitaly Venturin, suggested a number by Andrew Lind of 10 to the power of 10 to the power of 10 million universes would be required. That's a figure that could not possibly be written out. It's a number so utterly vast as to defy any sensible comment on it. So, it's impossible. And there's no evidence for it whatsoever. One thing is certain. None of the evolutionary concepts for the origin of the, and they're supposed to be where the universe has scientific theories. These philosophic speculations are fraught with damning scientific data that contradict their basic assumptions. Under the light of scientific scrutiny, not even one qualifies as a workable hypothesis. So we must look elsewhere.